The soft breathing of your son echoed in the quiet room, his tiny arms wrapped tightly around his favorite stuffed lion. The blanket had half slipped from his legs in his usual restless sleep, and you gently pulled it back up. Your fingers lingered on his smooth, warm skin. You bent down and kissed his forehead, letting your lips linger just a second longer. His cheeks were so soft, flushed from sleep. His eyelashes, long and dark, just like his father's, rested on his skin like delicate shadows, and those lips, full, heart shaped, always slightly parted when he slept, just like Jungkook. Every time you looked at him, it was like staring at a smaller, purer version of the man you loved. The same little frown when he was confused, the same determined glint in his eyes when he was building towers out of blocks or racing his toy cars across the floor. He was his father's son in every way. And yet the weight of that truth often rested heavily on your chest. You watched his tiny chest rise and fall, so calm, so unaware of the world that existed outside these four safe walls. The real world, the dark world, the world you had willingly stepped into the day you chose to love John Jungkook. Your hand brushed through your son's silky black hair as you whispered softly, "Good night, my little angel." You smiled, but there was a tinge of sadness behind it because this little angel had been born into a world that had already taken so much, a world of blood, oaths, of violence, of whispered threats in the night, a world where love was dangerous and safety was a fleeting luxury. You had worried endlessly when you found out you were pregnant. How could you raise a child in the shadows of guns and enemies? How could you keep him innocent, soft, unscarred? But Jungkook had promised you he would protect him, that no matter how dark his own life became, your son would have the light, and he kept that promise ferociously. No enemy ever got close, no danger ever touched your child's life. He built walls around you both, even if it meant burning himself down in the process. Your heart swelled with gratitude and ache as you turned off the beside lamp and quietly pulled the door behind you. The night swallowed the hallway, but your footsteps were silent and light. You were walking away from your child, but your thoughts, your love, always remained wrapped around him like a blanket you had just tucked in. You just hoped that blanket would be enough, that you would always be enough, and that the man waiting for you in the bedroom, your husband, the king of an empire built on pain, would not fall so deep into the abyss that it tore the three of you apart. Because your son may look like Jungkook, but your biggest fear was that one day he might also carry his scars. When you entered your bedroom, you saw him. Jungkook stood by the window, shirtless, his broad back stiff and tense. The muscles in his arms flexed with restraint, and his fists were clenched at his sides. That look, you knew it all too well. It was dangerous. Jungkook, you called gently, walking towards him. What's wrong? He didn't turn around. Nothing, just work. You frowned and wrapped your arms around his waist from behind, resting your cheek against his back. Don't lie to me. I know this silence. I know that tension. His body relaxed slightly under your touch, but his voice remained distant. It's something I have to take care of. It's better you don't ask. You pulled back enough to look up at him. Is it something that could hurt you? His jaw tightened. No, just something long overdue. He didn't want you to worry. He never did, especially when the matter was close to your heart. You didn't push. Instead, you nodded softly and let him lead you to bed. That night you talked as you usually did. You told him about the school play your son had next week, about the flowers blooming in the garden. But he was somewhere else. His eyes would wander. His responses came slower. He was distracted. Jungkook, are you even listening to me? He blinked and looked down at you, forcing a smile. I am, he said softly. I'm listening, Angel. But you weren't convinced. Not for a second. You shifted slightly, your hand brushing over his jaw. You're hiding something. I'm not, he said too quickly. Your heart twisted. You forget I have known you for more than 8 years. You whispered, you can lie to the rest of the world but not to me, Jungkook, not to your wife. He didn't respond. He just looked at you like he was memorizing your face, as if he didn't know when he would be able to look at you like this again. You sighed and gently rested your head back on his chest. Whatever it is, I just hope you don't carry it alone. There was a pause. You could hear his heartbeat beneath your ear, fast, uneven. I think you need rest, you whispered. Sleep, please. His arm wrapped around you more tightly, protectively. He pressed a lingering kiss to the top of your head. Good night, baby, he murmured against your hair. And for a moment, despite everything you felt building beneath the surface, you let yourself believe that it would be all okay. But deep inside, you knew something was coming and it would change everything. The darkness of the room wrapped around you like a heavy blanket, and the only sound was the quiet hum of the air conditioner. You didn't know what time it was, maybe past midnight, but something stirred you from your sleep. It wasn't a sound that woke you, it was the absence. Your hand reached out instinctively, fingertips brushing against cold sheets where Jungkook should have been. You blinked your eyes open, your heart thudding once, then again faster. He was gone. You sat up slowly, your gaze sweeping over the quiet room. His side of the bed was empty. The pillows barely held the shape of his head, still faintly warm, meaning he hadn't been gone long, but you knew Jungkook and you knew what this meant. You pulled the blanket off and stood, your bare feet making no sound as they touched the floor. You walked to the window, half hoping you would see him pacing outside or smoking near the garden like he sometimes did when his thoughts became too loud. But there was nothing. Your chest tightened. Jungkook. You whispered into the stillness as if calling him would bring him back. Then you noticed it, the drawer to his nightstand, slightly ajar. You moved towards it and gently opened it the rest of the way. The cold gleam of metal met your eyes. His gun was gone. Your breath caught. You clutched the edge of the drawer, your mind racing, the tension from earlier, the way he looked at you like he was memorizing you. The silence when you mentioned he was hiding something, he was going to do something, something dangerous. You turned and rushed towards the door, heart pounding in your chest, but a part of you already knew this wasn't just any mission, this was personal, and your greatest fear was only just beginning to unfold. You moved through the silent halls like a ghost, your hands trembling as you held the railing, descending to the lower level of the house. The air grew colder as you reached the basement, and your steps slowed when you saw the faint light bleeding out from under the heavy steel door. It was unlocked. Your breath hitched. You pushed it open carefully, and there he was, Jungkook. Jungkook stood in the middle of the room, dressed in all black, eyes dark and unreadable. His arm was extended, in his hand a gun, and seated in front of him, beaten and bound to a chair, was your brother, your stepbrother, the same brother you once shared childhood secrets with, the same brother you cried with when your parents divorced, the same brother who somehow was now a traitor. Your voice came out barely above a whisper. Jungkook. His shoulders tensed at the sound of your voice. He didn't turn to face you. Go upstairs, Ryan. His voice was low, controlled, and dangerous. No, you said, your voice shaking as you stepped closer. Please, what are you doing? That's when he turned, and the look in his eyes nearly shattered you. What am I doing? He said bitterly. I'm finishing what they started. He pointed the gun straight at your brother's head. He was one of them, one of the cowards who helped trap my mother, my brother, burn them alive like they were nothing. For what? Power? Your step-brother whimpered behind the gag, but Jungkook's hand didn't waver. You rushed forward, your voice cracking. He's my brother. He was your brother. Jungkook spat, turning towards you, and he smiled while mine screamed. His voice broke then, just for a second, and you saw it. The grief that had been eating my life for years, the kind that kept him awake at night, whispering your name like a prayer just to hold on. The pain that you once cradled in your arms when he shattered into sobs on the bathroom floor. Tears filled your eyes. You knew deep down you had known the truth. The evidence had surfaced over the years. Your brother had been involved, had betrayed Jungkook's family, aligned himself with the same monsters that tore Jungkook's world apart. You had held him through the nights he broke. You had wiped away his tears as he cried for his mother, for his little brother who died too young and too brutally. You knew what this pain had done to him. And you're still saving him after knowing everything? He whispered harshly. Do you think I forgot what I saw when I arrived that day? Tears blurred your vision as you stepped between them, slowly, deliberately, placing yourself between your husband and your brother. His gun rose instinctively, now pointing directly at you, and in that moment, time stopped. Jungkook froze, the barrel trembling ever so slightly as it faced you. His eyes widened, full of horror. Wyan. He choked, his voice barely human. Please move. You didn't. Please, you said, tears spilling. This isn't who are you anymore. He shook his head slowly, a tear escaping down his cheek. Don't protect him. Not after what he did to my family, to me. They are the reason I have become a monster today. His voice cracked, and that alone nearly shattered you. I was going to get out. I was going to leave it all behind for you, for our son, but then they... He stopped himself, biting down on the words, as if even speaking them burned his throat. You turned slowly, glancing back at your brother, slumped in the chair, blooded and barely conscious, his lips trembling with some silent apology or perhaps shame. His face, once familiar, now looked like a stranger's, but still he was your brother, and Jungkook was your whole world. Your knees felt weak under the weight of it all. He betrayed you, he betrayed me, and I will never forgive him for that. You said the words even though they hurt. But please, Jungkook, don't let our son remember his father as a killer. Not like this, not with me in the middle. Jungkook's eyes snapped up to yours, filled with torment. He was trembling now, the fury starting to wither under the crushing burden of everything else. Give him another punishment, lock him away, strip him of everything. Make him pay. Just don't stain your hands with the blood of someone I once called family. Don't let this ruin you more than it already has. You stepped closer to him, slowly watching his hands twitch, his breathing unsteady. You cried in my arms for nights, Jungkook. I held you when your voice broke, calling your brother's name, when you collapsed on the bathroom floor, holding your mother's scarf like it could bring her back. Your voice trembled. Don't let him take away what little soul you have got left. Don't let him destroy the father my son worships. Jungkook stared at you like he couldn't breathe. His eyes lowered, glancing past you at the pitiful, battered man tied to the chair. Jungkook's grip on the gun was still tight, his knuckles pale. You could see the storm inside him, his whole body trembling not from indecision, but from the war between love and vengeance. You were still standing between them. One wrong move, one more word out of place, and everything could spiral into irreversible ruin. Then, Appa, the small innocent voice pierced through the silence like a bullet. Both of your heads snapped towards the entrance of the basement. There, standing at the top of the stairs in his little blue pajamas, was your son, wide-eyed, confused and scared. His tiny hands were rubbing his eyes, and then they widened, locking onto the sight of his father standing in front of a blooded man, pointing a gun directly in front of his mother. Amma. His voice cracked. Why is Appa? Why is he? You froze. Jungkook's entire body went still. His voice shook. Are you going to hurt mommy? The question shattered the world into pieces. No. Jungkook's voice thundered, louder than any gunshot. His hands dropped immediately, the gun clattering against the concrete floor as if it had burned him. He turned to your son, panic bleeding into every line of his face. No, baby, never, never. You rushed up the stairs, your heart racing, scooping your son into your arms. You held him tight against your chest, whispering, It's okay, sweetheart. Mommy is okay. Appa would never hurt me. But your son was already crying, small fist gripping your shirt. He had a gun, mommy. He had a gun, I saw. Jungkook took one step closer, pain written across every inch of his face. I would rather die than hurt her. Do you hear me, my boy? He sank to his knees right there, his eyes brimming with tears. I would die before ever laying a finger on your mother. You looked at Jungkook, his face broken, his soul torn open, and her own heart bled. Your son peeked over your shoulder, still sobbing, but his tiny voice asked, Then why were you angry? You said you love mommy more than anything, even more than me, but now I'm not sure you do. Jungkook swallowed. No, sweetheart, that's not true. Appa wasn't hurting me. Your voice cracked, trying to keep calm as your son trembled in your arms. But Jungsu only shook his head, eyes wide with betrayal and fear. Jungkook had already shifted slightly, blocking the view of your stepbrother tied up behind him, bloody and unconscious. But the damage had been done. Oma, let's go away from here. Let's go away from Appa. His voice broke. He's not a good man. That shattered something deep inside you. You felt your knees weaken, your throat tighten. Jungkook's eyes closed slowly, jaw clenched in silent agony behind you. You turned to him, catching the pain in his gaze, the guilt, the heartbreak. He looked like he couldn't breathe. But you gave him a nod, a silent promise. I'll fix this. You whispered softly to your son, Okay, baby, let's go to our room. You carried Jungsu upstairs. Jungkook followed, his steps quiet but heavy behind you. Bedroom door clicked shut and you placed your son on the bed gently. He sat curled on the edge, hugging his knees, avoiding your eyes. You knelt in front of him, brushing his hair back gently. Listen to me, sweetheart. I know what you saw was scary, but Appa wasn't going to hurt me. He would never do that, not ever. Jungsu didn't respond. Do you know why Appa is so strong? Because he has to protect a lot of people. There are some very bad people out there, and Appa, your voice shook. Appa stands between them and the ones who couldn't defend themselves. He blinked, slowly looking up at you. He's not a bad man, baby. He's your hero, just like you always say. Remember when you told your teacher Appa saves people? Jungsu sniffled, but he had a gun. Yes, because sometimes to protect the people we love, grown-ups have to make really hard choices. But no matter what, Appa would never hurt you or me. Just then, you heard the softest creak at the door. Jungkook was standing there, eyes glistening, hands trembling slightly at his sides. Jungsu, his voice was barely audible, rough with emotion. I'm so sorry you saw that. So sorry you got scared. He took a cautious step into the room. But your Oma is right. I would never hurt her, and I would give my life for both of you, everything I do. Even the hard, ugly parts. I do it to keep you safe, to make this world a little less cruel for you. Jungsu looked at him, the hurt still in his eyes, but now something else too, confusion, curiosity, a flicker of understanding. Appa is a good man, baby. He just carries a heavy heart because he lost people he loved, and sometimes that pain, it changes people. You reached out your hand gently, and your son placed his tiny palm in yours. Jungsu whispered. Are you sad too, Appa? Jungkook finally broke. He walked forward, knelt beside you both, and let his tears fall silently. Yes, I miss them every day, but nothing matters more to me than you and your Umma. You leaned in, wrapping your arms around both of them, your voice cracking through your own tears. We are a family, we protect each other, and we heal together. Jungsu buried his face into his father's chest slowly, still hesitant but seeking warmth, safety. Jungkook hugged him tightly, one hand cradling your back, the other holding his son like a fragile treasure. And as the moonlight spilled through the window, bathing the room in a quiet glow, the three of you stayed there, wrapped in one another's arm, not saying another word because sometimes healing doesn't need words. Sometimes all it needs is love.